From the land of lakes, this is 10,000 Takes. Brought to you by Minnesota Score Radio. Wally and Eric back for yet another month as we slice and dice the always busy, always topical, super saturated Minnesota sports scene. And boy, when you get to October,
yes,
the plate just piles up with sports. And no exception here in the Twin Cities and around the North Star State. Where do we begin?
Well, I mean, and you can go down the list. You have, you're in the midst of the NFL season now, the heart of it, really, over the next month.
A quarter of the way in, basically.
Same with Division I college football, Division II college football, Division III college football. So your Gophers. Baseball playoffs are here. And then you have the NHL revving up. And the NBA is not too far behind. So It all happens. It might be, I don't know if it's your favorite month of the year, but it certainly is the busiest month of the year as far as sports goes.
It's sports gridlock. Even if you are just a passionate fan, it's tough to keep up with it all. I don't know how you do it. You would need picture in picture in picture. And then you'd have to be on your phone looking at another game. Let's not leave out Minnesota United. They're still playing soccer.
That's true. So, soccer continues as well.
Yeah.
I mean, the only comparison in my mind would be March.
No, you're right.
When you have March Madness, you got all the high school tournaments, you got the NCAA tournament, the baseball spring training. Actually, baseball regular season, for that matter, is now well into March.
And the NFL has found its way into March with free agency. They Bigfoot. March Madness and spring training and all that, because the free agent signings are huge news, as you know.
That's the only thing that isn't going on in March on the field, basically, that we haven't discussed.
Well,
all right.
And they do it again in April and May, right?
Yeah.
With mini camps and drafts and all that stuff.
True. I guess college football isn't going in either. So, but this month is it's a busy month, and your Vikings started out with a win. So that's the good news if you're a Vikings backer. I don't think it was particularly impressive. They beat a team that they should beat, but I guess anytime you win a game in the National Football League, you're not throwing any back, right? And anytime you win on the road. So those are two positives. And then I thought that the defense really showed itself on Sunday against Carolina. And they're going to have to play better. They just are, because, we saw what happened when the Eagles rammed the ball down their throats. And then the following week, the Chargers and Justin Herbert passing the ball, left and right over 400 yards. So the Vikings defense showed up. They came up with some turnovers, which was huge. Obviously, the scoop and score by Wanham. All good things, I think, that point towards perhaps this thing getting turned around. But you've got the Super Bowl champions waiting on deck, so it doesn't get any easier.
Yeah, you have Kansas City and San Francisco sandwiched in between the monsters of the Midway, the Chicago
boy,
Bears.
Are they bad.
We'll see. The rubber meets the road Sunday as they take on the Kansas City Chiefs. 3:25 p.m. kickoff Central, by the way. So that's a good slot to be as far as getting a lot of solid attention. But I think defensively against Carolina, yes, you're right. They were outstanding. Harrison Smith had 3 sacks. He had the strip on the DJ Wanham scoop and score.
Right.
And they overcame that pick 6 by Sam Franklin Jr., who jumped that out route, and Kirk Cousins delivered the ball to him via telegraph, and he went 99 yards to the house. For some teams, that you can't recover from that. Minnesota did. I think Carolina clearly is a work in progress. Bryce Young, the top pick out of Alabama. I mean, he's just early on. I mean, he's just a young guy. They didn't do things in the red zone. They had a chance maybe to go up 14-0. The Panthers did not. As you said, look, Carolina's not very good. They're 0-4, but it's a win. You move on. Vikings are out of last place. Chicago now is the worst team in the North. But we'll see when Kansas City comes in. Patrick Mahomes, he's a generational quarterback. I think you would agree with me there. Travis Kelce is here. I'm guessing Taylor Swift might show up. If she doesn't, that would tell me that she's not too hip on Minneapolis, because she's been at Arrowhead, now she's been at MetLife, right, New Jersey. Will she come to the Twin Cities?
Well, okay, so Arrowhead's a home game for Travis Kelce.
Right.
And to go to MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, that's New York. So, it's a little different.
Big Apple, will she come to the Minneapolis?
Will she come to the Minneapolis is the question.
Yeah, I just want your prediction right now.
I would say no. Just guessing. that she's going to take a hard pass on the mini apple. I'm not saying why. I'm not saying because it's a town that cancels its marathon at the last minute because it's too hot.
Well, she was here a couple months ago for a couple concerts, right?
Oh yeah. So you think
she's been inside the House of Noise?
Yes, so she's seen it, been there, done that. And I heard the acoustics aren't great for music inside.
No,
there.
I've seen a concert there, and it doesn't quite rival the Hollywood Bowl.
All right, back to your Vikings. If the Vikings are going to succeed this year, and I'll just put that generic term out there for you, they have got to stop turning the football over. I mean, 2 more picks by Kirk Cousins. You talked about the pick 6, and he had one at the end of the first half that ended up costing him 3 points. So really 10 points on those 2 picks that he threw. This cannot continue.
No, it can't. And I know that Kevin O'Connell, after the loss to the LA Chargers, called out some people. He said, you keep putting the ball on the ground, you're not going to get playing time. Well, can he do that with his quarterback? Because we know the Minnesota Vikings do not have a legitimate, proven backup. No. And I'll give Captain Kirk credit for this. The one thing I love is he comes off very corporate, right? And he should be. He's his own ATM machine with all that money they're paying him. He's his own brand. But he's a tough guy. He never gets injured. And on the pick 6, he tried to run Franklin down.
I saw that.
And he got battered on one of them, and it was a clean block. I thought for sure they'd throw the flag because he touched their quarterback. But he turned into a defender there. But the point is, he tried to make the play. He got back up. He's a tough guy. What happens if he goes down? The Vikings, I don't know where they'd be. They'd be lost at sea.
They would be 0-3 going into their 4th game. Oh, wait a minute. They were 0-3 going into their 4th game.
Yeah, they're 1-3 with him.
They're 1-3 with him, so I don't know. And they're not favored against Kansas City. They won't be favored against San Francisco unless something drastic happens here over the next couple of weeks. I mean, if Brock Purdy gets hurt,
if Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle all decide not to make the trip to Minnesota.
Okay, there's that. If they get hurt getting off the bus.
Yeah.
If something like that should occur, then perhaps they will be favored. But I will say this. If they do not beat the monsters of the Midway, as you call them, the Chicago Bears, that has to be the worst football team in the NFL in years. They are terrible.
They've lost 14 in a row. They blew a huge lead against Denver, another team that is just scuffling, as we all know.
Yeah.
And the new coach there, Matt Eberflus, he's in his 2nd year like Kevin O'Connell. Late in the game, he had a chance to kick the field goal, put Chicago up. Instead, he goes for it on a 4th and 1. Broncos stuff the Bears. They go down and get their own game-winning field goal. This guy is already in hot water. And they may send him into Lake Michigan here soon. They may tell him just to walk off the pier if he doesn't get a win or two shortly. That's how bad it is in Chicago.
Yeah. Well, it could be that bad in Minneapolis if they lose to Chicago.
Yeah. All right, stick around. A lot more coming up. We'll talk some more purple. Leo Lewis, who played for the Vikings, will join us. 10K takes your purple ticket.
The excitement is real at Fond du Lac Casino. With over 650 slots to play, there's always something going on right in the heart of downtown Duluth. Come in to enjoy 2 floors of entertainment where you'll find some of the hottest new games along with a number of the old favorites. Play at your comfort level, all the way up to high stakes where the payouts can be huge. Relax in a comfortable atmosphere and maybe get a beverage while you gather and have fun with your friends. Open 7 days a week so you can
have a great time out at Fond du Lac.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya?
Oh, I love your earring. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision. It's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
We're going to continue talking Minnesota Vikings purple here on 10,000 Takes. And joining us now is former Minnesota Vikings wide receiver and front office guy, Leo Lewis. All right, Leo, off to that 1-3 start. Are you surprised by the semi-slow start the Vikings have been off to?
You know what? I tell you what, I am not surprised. They just have not shown enough excitement for us, losing so much in the preseason and coming off a bad taste in your mouth loss in the playoffs last year. They haven't shown us enough to really get us excited about them. I am pleased with the way Kurt is passing the ball. Obviously, with the best wide receiver in the league to throw to, you're going to get a little bit more of a perk. But I'd have to say that we have judgment on every other position.
Leo, you were a special teams ace when you played, among other things, also a wideout. Do they need more splash from guys like Ty Chandler and Brandon Powell in the kick and punt return game?
Well, I mean, that's if they can get a kick and a punt. I mean, obviously, they don't have as many. They don't have as many returns in either category, and I just think that that's going to go by the wayside. It's going to probably get worse for those individuals, and quite frankly, you need some people who have those skills. But if the kicking game is going to be diminished, and special teams isn't going to be, or it's going to be relegated to kickoff, extra points and field goals, then we're not going to see much of the return game.
The defense, I think it could be argued, saved the day against Carolina. The scoop and score by DJ Wanham, of course, the sacks by Harrison Smith, and the fact that they shut Carolina out in the second half, so the Vikings are able to win the football game. Do you think that they have made strides now on defense? Under Brian Flores' new system and trying to learn what he wants and mix and match, as opposed to what they were doing last year when they were playing with what Eric and I call the Tampa 8.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, they've got a lot of new personnel. It's really tough for a new coach to come in and teach young people his philosophy. It would be good if we had older guys playing on defense. But I certainly believe we are going to then say that the defense played well this week. What about next week? I think there's still a lot of judgment as to how good this team is. Am I surprised by what's going on? No, I'm not. I'm really not. I think with the defense being so young, they've got a ways to go. I'm really concerned about the pass rush. I don't know if we have enough talented pass rushers, to tell you the truth.
Leo, when you played, the quarterbacks in your heyday that shined basically were Dan Marino, Joe Montana.
Yeah.
Now, I know you can't really compare eras. Our good friend Chuck Foreman always tells us that. But let's fast forward to today, 2023. The Magic Man, Patrick Mahomes. Another Super Bowl win, and I think he's got to be looked at as one of the all-time greatest, if maybe he is already.
Well, I think he is. I think you can put him in that category. He's a different type of quarterback. Could Dan Marino, John Elway play today? Yes, they could. I mean, you've got Tom Brady as the holdover of the traditional quarterback who stands in the pocket. If he can do it, I think we certainly could have had those guys who played in the 1980s play quarterback today. Specifically, we've got our own quarterback who is a testament to the old style quarterbacking, and he can be successful if he gets some blocking. But I think the game is still about blocking, catching, passing, and tackling, and it always will be. I think it has a call for these specialists to shine, and we haven't gotten there yet.
Leo, okay, so there's a lot of football left. Minnesota is 1-3, Green Bay 2-2, Chicago 0-4, and then Detroit at 3-1, and they have some impressive wins at KC, at Green Bay. But do you think the Lions are championship ready yet?
Well, I think they are competitive. I think that they can play with anyone in the league right now. They need breaks. They still have I consider the quarterback a young quarterback who needs help. But I think Detroit is a much better team than they even were last year.
Let me ask you something about the Vikings quarterback situation. Obviously, Kirk Cousins has played well this year. He's among the top passers in the NFL right now. But what happens if they don't sign Kirk Cousins at the end of the season? What happens if Kirk Cousins gets hurt during the season? Green Bay had a plan. They drafted Jordan Love a couple of years ago, a la the same way they did it with Rodgers and Favre. Rodgers played under Favre for a couple of years, then he's the man. Now Love played a couple of years under Rodgers, now he's the guy. What's the Vikings' plan going forward? Any idea?
Yeah, well, I do believe, and you're right, I do believe in that process of having a young quarterback come in who you really believe is highly regarded, to get mentoring, to understand the system a lot better, and still have some commitment to that quarterback. We have not done that. Although we've drafted quarterbacks before, it was like it was a secondhand thought about, fulfilling that draft choice when we hired these quarterbacks. No one has really come in and been competitive with Kirk Cousins. And you're right. That's my fear too, that he get hurt and then we have to deal with a situation similar to the Jets in relying on the intelligence of a backup quarterback to at least support the other players in trying to win games. You know what? I believe that we can still be a better team with another quarterback. I really believe that, but I don't sense that commitment by the Vikings.
And I agree. And I think to expound on what Wally said, Leo, a few weeks ago, Trey Lance was being dangled on the market by San Francisco, and they may have given up on him too soon. We don't know. Hard to second guess the 49ers. They're 4-0. But my point is, Dallas gets him for a 4th-round pick. If I'm Minnesota, I take a chance on him. I try to re-sign Kirk for the following year, let Kirk mentor Trey, and I believe he would. I think Kirk is a team guy. And then maybe Trey's ready in 2 or 3 years. But again, no plan.
Well, that's true. I was puzzled by the notion that we weren't even in the conversation about him. That lends me to believe there's something about Lance that's not been revealed. And I'm not quite sure what it is. For San Francisco, who by and large had the leverage with 3 outstanding quarterbacks at one time, they did that purposely, and they may believe that they got about what they could get from Lance. So it really has me puzzled that we don't know the entire story about Trey Lance.
Well, Leo, we appreciate you spending some time with us and giving us some insight on the Minnesota Vikings and what may or may not happen over these last 3 months of the season. We still got a long ways to go. October, November, December, and even into January for that matter. So, anyway.
Well, it was pivotal that we won that game this weekend. It was so dreadful to believe or to have some sense what 0-4 meant to this club. And I think 1-3 is better. It gives us a shot to get to 500. When we get to 500, I'm not quite sure, but I think that should be the goal to get to 500, because it looks like the division winner is going to be close to that percentage.
Yeah. Thanks, Leo. Appreciate it.
Leo.
All right. Thank you.
He is Leo Lewis, the former Minnesota Vikings wide receiver and front office guy, joining us right here on 10,000 Takes. We're back with more after this timeout. Stay with us.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya?
Oh, I love your earring. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
Welcome back. And it's, as we mentioned, the heart of the college football season as well. Your Gophers back over the 500 mark. They got a big win over Louisiana Lafayette, the Raging Cajuns, last Saturday. Now the big test. The guys from the big house are coming in, And do you give them any chance at all to get the little brown jug, which has been absent for a millennium?
Yeah, the little brown jug is a rumor to generations of students at the U of Minnesota, not the U of Michigan. It lives in Ann Arbor. And about once every 10 years, the jug shows up in Dinkytown, and then back it goes when Michigan wakes up the next season. But, yeah, how about this rivalry? Or is it a rivalry? In the history of these teams, I have it right here. Michigan, 76 wins. Minnesota, 25. 3 ties. Wolverines have won 25 of the last 27. They're 34-12-1 in Minneapolis. That would be Memorial Stadium, Metrodome, Huntington Bank Stadium. And let's not forget they probably won one when it was called TCF too. So it doesn't really matter where they play. Here they win. And I suspect they'll do the same thing on Saturday. Do the Gophers have a chance? Of course they do. But it would be a signature win in the P.J. Fleck era if they somehow pull this out. I can't imagine it happening, though.
No, I would say biggest win in, I don't know, maybe 20-plus years of Gopher football if they were to beat Michigan.
Probably, maybe even back to when I think it was 1977 when Cal Stoll beat, a number 1 Michigan team in Minneapolis, or they were very high in the rankings. Because this Wolverines team's outstanding, as we know, and they're playing to get back to the Fab Four. I mean, they were one of the 4 best a year ago. So that's what you're up against.
Yeah, well, I don't think I see it at all. And here's the kicker to this whole thing. It's the national game on, I think it's on ABC.
No, the Peacock is here.
Oh,
NBC,
the Peacock. Yeah. All right, that's the one. All right. Yeah, so a national broadcast over the air embarrassment when they get pounded, or if they get pounded.
Yeah, again, I thoroughly expect Michigan to win. But on the flip side, if the Gophers can come up with one of these historical wins and do it on NBC, that would be a huge boost for the program from a recruiting standpoint and all that, especially with that loss to Northwestern, that they have to somehow make up for it. Well, the only way to make up for that is to beat a team like Michigan.
No. Good news is that hardly anybody saw the Northwestern game. Everybody was watching Ohio State and Notre Dame.
That's true. Did it really happen?
Probably not. Okay. Playoffs in baseball are underway. And I think that the thing that maybe it's a surprise to some, but really didn't surprise me was how cheap the tickets were for Twins games in this first-round series against Toronto were on the secondary market. Now, if you called the Twins front office like you did, the cheapest ticket for a standing room only was what? It was like, $35 bucks?
Yeah.
$35, okay. But if you go to the secondary market, I think didn't you say you saw something for like $5 or $6?
Yeah, it started at $18. My ticket connection was sending me screenshots on Sunday, and it was $18. He says, you got to get the kids down there. That's cheap. Well, by Monday, the tickets were between $8 and $5 for games 1 and 2. And it's funny because during the regular season, if you're a student, Monday through Thursday games, you can walk up to the window at trendy Target Field and buy a $5 ticket. I called the Twins to see if that was still in play during the playoffs.
They're not doing that.
So you got to go to StubHub or Vivid or whatever your favorite secondary site is. So I got a couple, and with the fees, they were $11 each.
Wow. All right, that's playoff baseball, man.
I might be able to afford that new M cap with the North Star logo.
All right, let me throw something out here on the M cap.
Oh, boy.
If Michigan loses to Minnesota on Saturday and the Twins win this series over Toronto and you have to go buy that M cap that you have.
It'll be pricey.
Okay.
Can I buy it at Walmart?
I doubt it. I will eat your hat.
Oh, boy. Make sure you hit play and record there, David, our director, David Well. That one has to stay in the archive.
All right. Takes of the day coming up next. Stay with us.
The excitement is real at Fond du Lac Casino. With over 650 slots to play, there's always something going on right in the heart of downtown Duluth. Come in to enjoy 2 floors of entertainment where you'll find some of the hottest new games along with a number of the old favorites. Play at your comfort level all the way up to high stakes where the payouts can be huge. Relax in a comfortable atmosphere and maybe get a beverage while you gather and have fun with your friends. Open 7 days a week so you can
have a great time out at Fond du Lac.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect. these.
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
10K Takes on television as we wrap up another episode. We'll get the takes of the day here in a minute, but I want to clear something up. Let me get this straight.
Yes.
So, if the Twins win a playoff series, I have to fork out roughly $40 or more for one of those caps with the new M logo and the star above it.
You
the
promised.
North Star.
You promised.
If they win the series against the Toronto Blue Jays. And you said if Minnesota pulls off the colossal upset and knocks off Michigan and brings that brown jug back to Minneapolis for a rare appearance, you'll eat that cap?
I will eat your hat, yes.
Wow. I think I come out a loser there, although I don't know how you're going to feel after you eat it.
As I've said many times, that cap is garbage, so I'm going to be eating trash.
All right, well, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see if the teams can hold up their end of the bargain.
I hope they both happen.
Well, yeah, well, I wanted to keep the cap. That's the sad thing.
Yeah, well, I'll bring the salt and pepper.
Now I'm going to have to buy a Guardians cap.
Lord.
All right. Well, what is your demeanor? I mean, are you in the red zone, or are you all heated up after the heat wave we had earlier in the week? Are you cooled down now? Are you happy? What is your mood?
Well, cool down is probably the term I should have used before we even started this thing. So the Twin Cities Marathon, scheduled for this past Sunday, got X'd out. Yes, it was canceled because it was going to be too hot. Well, look, at 7 in the morning, it was 70 degrees. 8,000 runners, approximately, were signed up, registered to run in the Twin Cities Marathon. I believe it was the 42nd version of the marathon. But those in power decided, you know what? We don't want to risk it. There are some health concerns if it gets too hot. But you know what? It wasn't going to be 85, 86, 87 degrees at 7 in the morning or even 10 in the morning. I know there was some humidity, but they had water stops all along the way. These are elite athletes. These are guys and gals who train in the heat all summer long. What do you think? They wait until October to train? No, they're training all year. They are training in the summer, in the heat. Some of them come in from Kenya. You think the temperatures are cool in Kenya? What, are you kidding me? I think that we made a big mistake by not having the Twin Cities Marathon. I understand the thinking behind it, but look, these are, as I said, elite athletes, and don't compare this to the Corey Stringer thing. A whole different situation there. That was over 3 days that was building up. This is a completely different situation, and I think that they made a mistake.
Let's see where the needle lands. Oh, yeah. That was my hunch. He's in the red zone. He's a grumpy Guardian. Well, we'll try to look at the bright side.
Yes.
This dispels the global myth that it's cold in Minnesota 12 months out of the year.
That's true.
So now we have a different image. We can't handle the heat. Might as well dome the whole state from War Road to Winona. All right, well, my take of the day, a lot of folks have seen that guy in action. He's already got 2 Super Bowl rings. He will be in Minneapolis at the House of Noise Sunday against the Minnesota Vikings. And guess what? The House of Noise is built on the old Metrodome site where that young dude, when he was a kid, Patrick Mahomes, would come to the stadium with his father, Pat, who was a Twins pitcher, and his mom. And that's a photo that's been circulated many times. But it's a cool comeback for Patrick Mahomes. Enough of Taylor Swift. Let's talk about Patrick Mahomes coming back to where he used to run around as a kid. And the Vikings better hope he's not slinging, winging, and zigging like he usually does.
Yeah, that would be bad for the Vikes.
On that note, we got to go. Let's FedEx out those thank yous. One to Paul Langfellow, David Weld, Rocky, Leo Lewis. He's Wally. I'm Eric saying so long. This is 10K Takes, your sports ticket.